All right, Leland, well, the Japanese government enacting one of its biggest changes in modern history, deciding this week to reinterpret its post-war pacifist constitution to allow greater use of military force to defend other countries. So what does this mean for the U.S. going forward? Gordon Chang is here. He's the author of The Coming Collapse of China and Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. Gordon, always good to see you. So I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the Japanese people and what it means to them, but I want to start by talking about the U.S. What does this mean for the U.S. going forward? And does this have anything to do with perhaps Japan feeling that they are going to be losing economic support from the U.S.?
Yeah. First and foremost, this means that Japan can help the United States maintain peace and security in the region because China is trying to grab territory, not only from Japan, but the Philippines, Vietnam, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia. And a lot of people in the region are concerned about the Obama administration not really helping the rest of the world there protect themselves. So, not
helping them in what way? Troops, by having troops on the ground there, more troops in the region, there are some there, or is it military assistance in terms of money?
Yeah, it's really military force, and it's especially the Navy, because we're talking about islands and shoals, which the Chinese are grabbing. The Chinese took Scarborough Shoal from the Philippines, despite our mutual defense treaty with that country, and then the Japanese are concerned that we're not going to honor our treaty towards Japan. The other thing, though, that it means is that Japan can help defend the United States. So, for instance, on missile defense, if they detect a North Korean missile heading towards the United States, with this change and with them helping on collective self-defense, they can shoot it down. Under the interpretation of their constitution right now, they're not permitted to do that, even though they're supposed to help us in their mutual defense treaty with the United States.
So are you surprised that Japan has now decided to change its constitution, or are you more surprised that the people of Japan are saying, you know what, it's time, let's do this, let's take some action?
Yeah, this was eventually going to happen because of Chinese provocative behavior in the region. But what I'm surprised is that there's so little opposition in Japan right now. There's, if you were to have a poll, probably more than 50% of the people would say, let's not do this. But the opposition is really very thin, very weak. And that's why Shinzo Abe, the Japanese prime minister, is able to go forward with this reinterpretation. And that really means, I think, that when you see more Chinese belligerence in the region, it also means that Japan, there's much less opposition to something like this.
Of course, Shinzo Abe has to look out for the Japanese economy as well. How would this affect what's going on in terms of, it's kind of weak right now?
Well, I think that the Japanese economy is certainly stumbling. Shinzo Abe's three-arrow program has worked up to now, but people are concerned that it's not going to be sustainable. And clearly, if there were going to be a conflict between China and Japan, because China wants not only the Senkaku Islands that Japan administers, but also Okinawa and the rest of the Ryukyu chain, well, that would just devastate the Japanese economy. And so this obviously is going to have some economic effects.
Okay, but how likely, though, are we going to see military action?
I think that it's actually very likely right now because the Chinese are on a path of actually belligerence. The military is becoming much more powerful in the Chinese political system. It's making decisions that are just unjustifiable.
Okay, so America and Japan are allies, all right? So if there is something to break out, if you will, then America has to defend Japan.
Right.
Of course, America has so many entanglements, if you will, with China.
Right.
So how does that play into it?
But, in World War I, there were so many entanglements between England and Germany, and people were saying, oh, because of the economic relations, there could never be a war. And, of course, we know what's happened. And really, right now, people in the region are concerned. Up to now, there's been this theory that, oh, because of China's economic integration with the region, there couldn't be war. Now people are much more concerned about war. And on July 4th, what makes America great is because we're defending the freedom and democracy of people in the region, and now Japan wants to help us. And we should be very fortunate they do because China and Russia are threatening the world.
And there you go. Gordon Chang, always good to have your perspective.